we had a good day yesterday. We had our State of the County address yesterday. One of the things we talked about was how to regionalize services within the county. There's another level to regionalism, and that is trying to figure out areas of mutual concern and cooperation between counties. And that's why I think it's this is timely that we're having this meeting here today, especially at a point in time where the state administration, the Kasich administration, is at times imposing things on counties with very little discussion or deliberation, and we're kind of left to pick up the pieces. We're the ones that have to live with the results of some of these policy pronouncements. That's especially true the possibility that our turnpike ends up being privatized. We're the end users. We in our counties are the consumers, and we are kind of at the mercy of the process that's been set up by the state with very little discussion or deliberation with those that this decision will actually affect. So about a month ago, Commissioner John McNally and I, who's a county commissioner in Mahoning County, started to discuss this issue, and we decided that we were going to form a coalition of the affected counties in the northern part of the state, and we're very happy to really launch that coalition today. We just came from a press conference on John's home turf in his building in Mahoning County, where we had representatives including representatives from such as Russ Pry, the county executive in Summit County. But so far, just officially, we have support for this process that we're undertaking from Trumbull County, Mahoning County, Summit County, Cuyahoga County, Lorain County, which is represented by here today by Lorain County Commissioner Ted Kalo on my right here, and then we just received word actually today that Lucas County is also supportive of this effort. That is really important because now you have a cross-section of the state that goes everywhere from the easternmost portions of the state all the way as far west as the Toledo area out in Lucas County, and they're all saying the same thing, which is that we haven't been consulted on this proposed turnpike privatization. We're very, very concerned about it, and we're going to start banding together as a unit to have our own debate and discussion instead of a one-sided conversation, which is what has been happening with the state so far. Now, we know that the governor came out early and often that the turnpike should be privatized. He has commissioned a study regarding the turnpike proposed privatization, which is due, I believe, in June or July. Now, you could reach your own conclusions about whether that's going to be a fair study, but he's already said he's for it and he thinks it's a great idea. Now he has hired his own consultant to tell him if it's a good idea, and I have my opinion about whether or not the result is going to be predictable. I think it is. I think they're going to say, "You're right, Governor. You paid us for a study, and we're agreeing with you." So what we're looking at doing is providing the other side of the equation, because this is a crucial issue for infrastructure issues, for economic development, and it's a crucial artery for all of these counties. So at this point in time, I want to turn it over to Commissioner McNally, and he can expand a little bit about what we're trying to accomplish here today. John?
Thank you, Ed. It's good to be up here today. Thanks, Ed, for the invitation. We just came back up from Youngstown and from Mahoning County, and I'm here to represent my colleagues, Commissioner Anthony Trafficani and Commissioner Carol Ravidio-Rigetti, in support of this collaborative effort in the northern counties in the state of Ohio to begin to counter the governor's efforts to privatize the Ohio Turnpike. The governor has frequently talked about collaboration and better cooperation, consolidation of resources. And the effort that Ed's talked about, that Ted's going to talk about in a little bit, is a perfect example of that. Counties cooperating, counties pooling resources. Ed talked in Mahoning County about devoting resources from here in Cuyahoga County in his office to help counteract these plans, to look at the plans, to make sure the plans that the residents of the state of Ohio, especially the northern parts of the state of Ohio, understand what's happening. We expect in Mahoning County to be able to devote some personnel resources, not only in our offices, but also in some of the offices that deal with transportation issues throughout the Mahoning Valley, which also includes Trumbull County and to a certain extent Columbiana County. To look at any privatization plan that comes out of Columbus. Like Ed, I expect that plan to say, yes, you should go ahead and privatize the Turnpike, and that process should begin right away. The county commissioners across the northern part of Ohio don't have time to wait and sit back for that report to come out, for us to consolidate our resources, consolidate our efforts, and consolidate our thoughts on these issues. So I'm happy to be here today. Glad to be here. We had a good event downtown in Youngstown with Russ Pry, with Ted, with Ed, and with my colleagues. We know, based on some of our discussions with our local representatives out of Columbus, that county commissioners across the state of Ohio, especially in the north, are going to have to be united in this effort. The County Commissioners Association of Ohio is opposed to the idea of privatizing of the Turnpike. We believe this is an issue more than just Democrats and Republicans. We believe that as we move farther west in this effort, and that's something we plan to do, hopefully with a series of meetings across the Turnpike corridor, that Republican commissioners in the northern parts of Ohio will also be on board with us. This is not one side versus the other. This is all of northern Ohio that has to be united in this effort. So I'm looking forward to the months ahead working with these two gentlemen and their colleagues in their counties to try to stem the tide on this particular issue. Ted, Kalo, thank you.
Yeah, I'd like to thank Ed and John for starting up this coalition. We have been working across the region for years, whether it's from economic development to different dispatches, whether it's ambulance. We've always crossed county lines. But this is a little bit larger than that. We have seen with the current administration where they have tried to sell the assets of this state. The Turnpike belongs to the users in Northeast Ohioans in particular. There's no general fund money going into this. It's all derived from its tolls and the fees it receives from the gas tax directly on its property. And now we have someone in Columbus telling us we need to sell one of our greatest assets, the best maintained highway in the state of Ohio, for a short-term gain. I find it hard to believe there would be any gain, any benefit whatsoever for any of us. And it's proven to be an economic development tool. We can't give that Turnpike up to a private organization to operate. It's been shown in other instances, the tolls go up, the conditions become horrible in comparison to what we currently have. And to let it be anything but what it is, I think would be a real shame to our region. Again, we're talking about Pennsylvania, Indiana, stops in between, whether we're going to visit our relatives or if we're moving commerce and moving freight, providing jobs for our residents. This is probably the worst idea that's come out. And Columbus hasn't done a good job in the past year or so. We've seen the failed prison idea. They thought they'd privatize all of that and it would fix everything. That didn't work out. SB 5 didn't work out as a tool for us to use in regards to our budgets. And again, selling this Turnpike or leasing it has no long-term benefit, but a whole lot of long-term pain for Lorain County. So I urge everyone across the range to start talking or work collaboratively, and let's stop this idea. Thank you.
So just in conclusion, it's a follow-up on a couple things that Ted and John said. First of all, as Ted mentioned, this is basically trying to solve a portion of the state's long-term budgetary problems by selling an asset and using one-time money, which is exactly supposed to be the approach that was rejected when it came to using federal money. So if it doesn't make sense to solve your budget problems by using one-time federal money, why does it make sense to try to fix your budget problems by selling off assets that at the end of the process, you're right where you were before, but now you don't have the assets, somebody else owns them. It doesn't, we don't think it makes fiscal sense. And as John mentioned, really our only hope in order to have the other side of this argument be heard is to try to force ourselves to have a seat at the table here. These proposals are basically being parachuted in to Northern Ohio from the Kasich administration. There's been no discussion or dialogue with us whatsoever about it. We generally learn about them from a press release or from reading about them in the newspaper. There hasn't been any serious policy discussion or collaboration on this issue at all. So it's great. It's fine to tell local communities that they're supposed to collaborate, but how about the state actually collaborating with us on policies that we think fit for our particular area? So we're going to basically try to raise as much hell as we can to try to force our way into this discussion that even though we're going to live with the results of the decision, we haven't been included in. So we are going to, this is really our first public meetings, but I anticipate that we'll be having coalition meetings and task force meetings where we're asking for testimony and information and really going to the people about what their opinions are about this all up and down the Ohio Turnpike. And I would anticipate that those meetings will start probably by the end of this month. The study that we're going to end up doing on our own, again, I'll be asking the counties to participate in that, whatever staff resources they could do. We've started to designate some staff internally that I think are going to be able to prepare a very professional report that will broaden the discussion that so far has been very narrowly focused in favor of privatization. With that, any questions?